Do not close this video. And whatever you do, do not assume that these words reached you by accident. Because tonight, there is something you need to hear before you make another decision about the person your heart cannot forget. There is a battle happening around the person you love. A battle you cannot see. A battle that cannot be measured by your eyes. A battle that does not always announce itself with thunder, darkness, or obvious signs. Sometimes the greatest battles begin silently. A sudden distance. A strange feeling. A dream you cannot explain. A name that keeps appearing in your mind. A message you almost send. A message you almost receive. A moment when your heart tells you, something is wrong. And tonight, this message is about that moment. Listen carefully. If there is someone you believe God placed deeply into your life, stay until the very end. Because there is a message here that may change the way you see your relationship, your waiting, your loneliness, and even the season you are currently living through. And before you continue, do something simple. If you believe that God can protect the people you love even when you cannot reach them, write, Jesus, protect them, in the comments. Not because a comment is magic. Not because words on a screen control heaven. But because sometimes your faith needs a voice. Sometimes you need to publicly say what fear has been trying to silence inside you. So write it if you believe. Jesus, protect them. Now listen. Imagine the room becoming quiet. Imagine the noise disappearing. Imagine every distraction fading for just a few moments. And hear these words as a sacred fictional dramatization of faith, spoken directly to the deepest part of your heart. Jesus says, "My child, you have been worried about someone you cannot control. You have tried to understand their silence. You have replayed conversations in your mind. You have wondered whether they still think about you. You have wondered whether they are safe. You have wondered whether they will return. And there have been moments when you wanted to give up. But I want you to understand something. Your inability to see what is happening does not mean nothing is happening. There are things unfolding beyond your sight. There are prayers being answered in ways you do not yet recognize. There are doors being closed because I know what is behind them. There are delays that feel painful because you cannot see what the delay is protecting you from. And there are people whose lives are being redirected before they can walk into the future you have been praying for. Stay here. Because this is where many people leave. They hear something emotional, they feel something for a moment, and then they move on. But do not rush. Ask yourself one question. Why did that person come into your mind while you were listening to this? Was it their face? Their name? A memory? A conversation? A relationship that never received closure? A person you love but cannot reach? Maybe it is someone you have not spoken to in months. Maybe it is someone who lives hundreds of miles away. Maybe it is someone who walked away. Maybe you are still waiting for an answer. Maybe you are pretending you are over them while secretly hoping they will come back. And maybe, deep inside, you have been asking God the same question over and over again. Lord, are they okay? Tonight, do not let fear answer that question. Let faith answer it. Jesus says, "My child, I do not ask you to live in fear for someone you love. I ask you to place them in my hands. You cannot follow them everywhere. You cannot protect them from every mistake. You cannot control every person they meet. You cannot prevent every difficult day. You cannot know every road they will travel. But you can pray. And prayer is not weakness. Prayer is surrender. Prayer is saying, God, I cannot carry this person in my hands, so I place them in yours. You have been carrying someone in your heart so heavily that you have forgotten how heavy your own heart has become. Tonight, put them down at my feet. Not because you stopped loving them. Because you finally understood that love does not mean control. Take a breath. And if someone came to your mind right now, don't panic. Don't assume that something terrible is definitely happening to them. This message is not telling you that a specific person is destined for tragedy. It is asking you to turn your fear into prayer. Because fear says, something bad is coming. Faith says, whatever comes, God is still present. And that difference can change everything. Now imagine another voice entering the scene. A voice stronger, steady, fearless. The voice of Archangel Michael in this fictional devotional dramatization. Michael says, do not surrender your mind to fear. Do not let imagination become your enemy. You have allowed your mind to create 1,000 disasters from a single unanswered message. You have imagined endings that have never happened. You have interpreted silence as rejection. You have interpreted distance as abandonment. You have interpreted delay as punishment. But silence is not always rejection. Distance is not always abandonment. Delay is not always punishment. Sometimes people are fighting battles you know nothing about. Sometimes the person you love is struggling with themselves. Sometimes they are confused. Sometimes they are afraid. Sometimes they are healing. Sometimes they are learning. Sometimes God is working on them in a place where you cannot follow. And sometimes God is working on you in the same way. Listen carefully. Because maybe the soulmate you are praying about is not the only person God is preparing. Maybe you are being prepared too. You keep asking, when will they come? But perhaps heaven is asking, who will you become before they arrive? You keep asking, will they return? But perhaps the deeper question is, will you still recognize your worth if they do not? You keep asking, are they thinking about me? But perhaps God is asking, are you thinking about the person I created you to become? These questions hurt. But sometimes healing begins with questions that hurt. Because God does not always answer the question you ask. Sometimes He answers the question underneath it. You ask for a person. He teaches you patience. You ask for a relationship. He teaches you identity. You ask for reunion. He teaches you forgiveness. You ask for certainty. He teaches you trust. And you ask, why is this taking so long? He whispers, because I am not only preparing the blessing. I am preparing you for the responsibility of receiving it. If that touched something inside you, write, I trust God's timing. Write it slowly. Not as a superstition. Not as a bargain. As a declaration. I trust God's timing. Now continue listening. Because there is another part of this message you need to hear. You may have been feeling restless lately. You may have experienced nights when your thoughts would not stop. You may have awakened suddenly and immediately thought about someone. You may have felt emotionally exhausted for no obvious reason. You may have checked your phone repeatedly. Maybe you expected a message. Maybe you hoped for a call. Maybe you saw their name somewhere. Maybe a song reminded you of them. Maybe an old photograph appeared. And suddenly your entire emotional world came alive again. You wondered, is this a sign? Be careful. Not every coincidence is a divine prediction. Not every dream is a prophecy. Not every number is a message from heaven. Not every feeling means something terrible is happening. But every moment can become an opportunity to pray. That is the difference. Instead of asking, what does this mean? Ask, God, what do you want me to learn? That question changes your position. You stop chasing signs. You start seeking wisdom. You stop obsessing over another person. You start protecting your peace. You stop trying to force an outcome. You start trusting the process. Jesus says, my child, you have mistaken anxiety for intuition. You have called fear a warning. You have called obsession love. You have called waiting faith. Tonight, I am teaching you the difference. Love does not require you to destroy yourself. Faith does not require you to panic. Prayer does not require you to predict the future. And trusting me does not mean you will understand everything. It means you can continue walking even when you do not. Now think about the person you love. Do not imagine them in danger. Imagine them surrounded by grace. Imagine them making wise decisions. Imagine them finding peace. Imagine them being protected from harmful choices. Imagine them being guided toward healthy relationships. Imagine them learning what they need to learn. And then release them. Say, Jesus, I give them to you. Again. Jesus, I give them to you. One more time. Jesus, I give them to you. Now say, and I give myself to you too. Because you matter. You have spent so much time worrying about another person that you may have forgotten that your heart needs protection too. Michael says, there is courage in walking away from what destroys your peace. There is courage in refusing to chase someone who repeatedly chooses distance. There is courage in loving someone without losing yourself. There is courage in saying, I want them, but I want God's will more. Do not mistake desperation for destiny. Do not mistake chemistry for covenant. Do not mistake attachment for divine purpose. And do not believe that losing a person means losing your future. Your future is not controlled by one human being. Your future is held by God. That is powerful. Because some of you have secretly believed, if this person leaves, my life is over. No. Your life is not over. If someone walks away, you may grieve. You may cry. You may need time. You may feel empty. But you are still here. And if God has another chapter for you, nobody can cancel it. Your story is bigger than one relationship. Your identity is bigger than someone's decision to stay or leave. Your worth existed before they noticed you. Your worth remains if they forget you. Your worth remains if they return. Your worth remains if they never do. Because your worth does not come from another human being. Jesus says, you are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not too late. You are not too damaged. You are not disqualified because someone rejected you. You are not abandoned because someone stopped answering. And you are not cursed because one relationship failed. There are chapters of your life that ended because they were chapters. Not because you were a failure. Listen to that again. Some endings are not punishments. Some endings are protection. Some endings are redirection. Some endings are the beginning of healing. And some endings simply make space for something healthier. You don't have to know which one it is tonight. You only have to trust God enough to stop forcing what you cannot control. Now, if you have been praying for a soulmate, hear this carefully. Do not make another human being your God. Do not worship the idea of a relationship. Do not believe that another person will magically heal every wound. A healthy relationship can bring companionship. It can bring joy. It can bring partnership. But no human being can carry the weight that belongs to God. Your soulmate cannot become your savior. Your partner cannot become your identity. Your relationship cannot become your entire reason for living. Jesus says, I want you to love deeply without making love an idol. I want you to desire companionship without worshiping companionship. I want you to hope for marriage without believing marriage will fix every wound. I want you to pray for love while also becoming someone capable of giving healthy love. Because the greatest preparation for a healthy relationship is not learning how to attract someone. It is learning how to become emotionally honest, spiritually grounded, patient, forgiving, wise, and courageous. Maybe that's why the season has lasted longer than you expected. Maybe God isn't saying no. Maybe God is saying, grow. Grow before you meet them. Grow before they return. Grow before you say yes. Grow before you build a future. Because what you receive must be strong enough to survive what you have not yet experienced. Michael says, do not rush toward a door simply because you are tired of standing in the hallway. A closed door can be mercy. A delay can be mercy. A separation can be mercy. A rejection can be mercy. And sometimes the thing you cried for is the very thing God is asking you to release. That does not mean your prayers are ignored. It means prayer is not a vending machine. You do not insert desperation and receive exactly what you requested. Prayer changes you. Prayer aligns you. Prayer gives you strength to accept what you cannot change. Prayer gives you wisdom to recognize what you should change. And prayer gives you courage to walk when God says walk. Now think about tonight. Maybe you are alone. Maybe everyone else is asleep. Maybe you are sitting in your bedroom with the lights low. Maybe you're listening through headphones. Maybe you're driving. Maybe you're working late. Wherever you are, remember this: you do not have to solve your entire future tonight. You do not have to know who your soulmate is tonight. You do not have to know whether someone will return. You do not have to decode every coincidence. You do not have to predict tomorrow. You only need enough faith for today. Jesus says, tomorrow belongs to me. You belong to me. The person you love belongs to my care. Stop trying to carry tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. There is peace in that. There is freedom in that. Now imagine placing every unanswered question into God's hands. The message you never received. The apology you never got. The explanation you never heard. The relationship that ended suddenly. The person you still love. The person you wish you could forget. The future you imagined. The wedding you pictured. The home you dreamed about. The family you imagined. Place it all there. And say, God, if it is meant for me, guide it. If it is not meant for me, release it. If it needs healing, heal it. If it needs distance, give me wisdom. If it needs patience, teach me patience. And if I need to move forward, give me courage. That is a stronger prayer than, God, make this person come back. Because you are no longer demanding an outcome. You are asking for wisdom. Now Michael speaks again. I stand in this dramatized message as a symbol of courage, protection, and spiritual strength. Do not allow fear to rule you. Do not spend tonight imagining disasters. Do not torture yourself with possibilities. Instead, pray. Pray for wisdom. Pray for safety. Pray for peace. Pray for the person you love. And then pray for yourself. Say, God, protect their mind. Protect their heart. Protect their choices. Protect them from people who wish them harm. Protect them from decisions made in anger. Protect them from destructive habits. Protect them from hopelessness. Give them wisdom. Give them courage. Give them peace. And if our paths are meant to meet again, let that meeting happen in your timing. Not mine. Pause mentally here. Because perhaps you have been trying to force a reunion. Maybe you have been checking their social media. Maybe you have been asking mutual friends about them. Maybe you have been sending messages and deleting them. Maybe you have been looking for signs that they miss you. Maybe you have been watching videos late at night hoping one of them will tell you exactly what your future holds. But no video can replace wisdom. No prediction can replace prayer. No algorithm knows the full story of your life. And no stranger on the internet can guarantee what another person will do tomorrow. Your future is not a comment section. Your relationship is not controlled by a viral prediction. Your life is not a script written by fear. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to wait. You are allowed to move on. You are allowed to love again. You are allowed to forgive. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect your heart. You are allowed to begin again. Jesus says, stop punishing yourself for what you did not know. Stop replaying yesterday as though you could rewrite it. You cannot. But you can choose differently today. You can apologize where necessary. You can forgive where possible. You can establish boundaries where needed. You can walk away where wisdom requires it. And you can love without abandoning yourself. Maybe your soulmate is not in danger tonight. Maybe your fear is. Maybe your peace is what needs protection. Maybe your ability to trust is what has been wounded. Maybe your heart has become so accustomed to disappointment that good things now feel suspicious. Maybe you expect people to leave. Maybe you expect promises to break. Maybe you expect love to hurt. And maybe tonight is not about predicting someone else's future. Maybe tonight is about healing your relationship with hope. That is why you are still listening. Not because a disaster is guaranteed. Not because you have been chosen for some secret prophecy. But because something inside you needs reassurance. Something inside you needs to hear, you are going to be okay. And yes, you can be okay. Even if the answer is not what you wanted. Even if the relationship changes. Even if the person does not return. Even if the future looks different. You can still be okay. Because God is bigger than the outcome. Michael says, courage does not mean knowing that everything will happen exactly as you wish. Courage means knowing that even when life surprises you, you will not surrender your soul to fear. That is what courage looks like. Not shouting. Not pretending. Not denying pain. Courage is getting up. Courage is praying when you are tired. Courage is choosing peace when your mind wants chaos. Courage is refusing to chase someone who repeatedly runs away. Courage is opening your heart again after disappointment. Courage is believing that your life can still be beautiful. Now, if you are still here, type one word, faith. Just that. Faith. Let that word represent everything you cannot control. Faith in God's timing. Faith in healing. Faith in wisdom. Faith in protection. Faith in your ability to survive disappointment. Faith that your future is not finished. Faith that your story has another page. Jesus says, my child, I know the name you are thinking. I know the memory you are hiding. I know the question you have been afraid to ask. But I do not want you trapped inside that question. I want you free. If that person is meant to walk beside you, let the relationship be built on truth, respect, patience, honesty, and mutual choice. If they are not, give yourself permission to grieve and then grow. Do not spend your entire life waiting outside a door I never asked you to stand before. I have not forgotten you. That sentence deserves to stay with you. I have not forgotten you. Read it again. I have not forgotten you. Because loneliness tells you that nobody sees you. Fear tells you that you have been abandoned. Rejection tells you that you are not enough. But none of those voices gets to define your identity. You are more than your relationship status. You are more than your last heartbreak. You are more than someone's opinion. You are more than a message left unanswered. You are more than a person who walked away. And you are more than the mistakes you made while trying to be loved. Now imagine tomorrow morning. You wake up. You reach for your phone. Maybe there is a message. Maybe there isn't. What changes? Your worth does not. Your purpose does not. Your responsibility does not. Your ability to choose peace does not. That is freedom. If the message comes, respond with wisdom. If it doesn't, continue living. If they return, don't abandon your standards. If they don't abandon yourself. If the relationship heals, let it heal slowly. If it ends, let it end honestly. Do not create a fantasy just because reality hurts. Do not create a nightmare just because uncertainty scares you. Stay grounded. Stay prayerful. Stay wise. Stay human. Michael says, protection is not always preventing every painful experience. Sometimes protection is giving you the strength to survive one. Sometimes protection is removing you from something you begged to keep. Sometimes protection is revealing someone's character before you build a life with them. Sometimes protection is allowing you to see clearly after years of emotional blindness. And maybe that's what is happening. Maybe clarity is coming. Maybe you are finally seeing a relationship as it truly is rather than as you hoped it would become. Maybe you are finally recognizing patterns. Maybe you are finally setting boundaries. Maybe you are finally learning that love without respect is not enough. Love without honesty is not enough. Love without mutual effort is not enough. Love without safety is not enough. Love without freedom is not enough. A soulmate should never require you to destroy yourself to prove that you care. And if someone pressures you to abandon your values, your safety, your family, your finances, your dignity, or your mental peace, do not call that divine destiny simply because your feelings are intense. Wisdom matters. Discernment matters. Boundaries matter. God-given intelligence matters. Jesus says, I did not give you a heart so that you could ignore your mind. I did not give you faith so that you would abandon wisdom. I did not call you to love so that you would tolerate destruction. Love and wisdom must walk together. Let that settle. Now let's pray. Not a prayer of panic. A prayer of surrender. Jesus, Father, tonight I place every person listening into your care. I place the person they are thinking about into your care. Where there is fear, bring peace. Where there is confusion, bring wisdom. Where there is anger, bring understanding. Where there is pain, bring healing. Where there is danger caused by human choices, bring discernment and help. Where there is loneliness, bring healthy connection. Where there is grief, bring comfort. Where there is obsession, bring freedom. Where there is uncertainty, bring patience. Where there is a relationship that needs healing, guide both people toward honesty. And where a relationship needs to end, give them the courage to accept it without hatred. Protect their hearts from bitterness. Protect their minds from fear. Protect their future from impulsive decisions. Teach them to recognize healthy love. Teach them to recognize manipulation. Teach them to recognize respect. Teach them to recognize peace. And above all, teach them that their identity does not depend on whether one particular person chooses them. Let them know they are seen. Let them know they are valuable. Let them know that their story is not over. Amen. And now Michael, stand up in courage. Do not spend tonight staring into darkness trying to predict tomorrow. Turn on the light. Take a breath. Drink some water. Put your phone down for a moment. Pray. Sleep. Tomorrow, make decisions with a clear mind. Do not let a frightening thought become your prophecy. Do not let an unanswered message become your evidence. Do not let loneliness become your decision maker. And do not let fear convince you that you have no future. This is important. If you are genuinely concerned that someone may be physically unsafe, don't rely on a video or a spiritual prediction. Reach out to them directly when appropriate. Contact someone who can actually check on them. Seek real-world help when necessary. Faith and practical wisdom can exist together. You don't have to choose one or the other. Now come back to your heart. Whoever you were thinking about at the beginning, picture them one final time. And this time, don't picture tragedy. Picture peace. Picture them making better choices. Picture them surrounded by people who genuinely care. Picture yourself no longer controlled by fear. And say, God, I release what I cannot control. Again. I release what I cannot control. And, I receive the peace I can carry today. You don't need tomorrow's peace today. You need today's peace today. Tomorrow will have its own strength. Jesus says, "My child, you wanted an answer. Here is the answer: do not be afraid. Not because nothing difficult will ever happen, but because difficulty does not have the final word. Do not be afraid of losing someone so much that you lose yourself. Do not be afraid of being alone so much that you accept unhealthy love. Do not be afraid of the future so much that you refuse to live in the present. And do not be afraid that one closed door means there are no doors left. Walk with me. Trust me. Grow. Heal. And let tomorrow reveal itself when tomorrow arrives." If you're still listening, maybe this message was never really about your soulmate. Maybe it was about you. Maybe you needed permission to stop checking. Permission to stop chasing. Permission to stop imagining the worst. Permission to sleep tonight. Permission to believe that your life can continue. Permission to love without fear. Permission to let go without hatred. Permission to wait without obsession. Permission to move forward without guilt. And perhaps that is the message you were searching for. You don't have to know everything tonight. You don't have to solve everything tonight. You don't have to force anything tonight. Just breathe. Pray. And let God handle what you cannot. If you want to leave one final comment, don't write the name of the person. Write, "God, I trust you with their life and mine." Because this is not about proving that you know the future. It is about admitting that you don't. And still choosing faith. That is real surrender. That is real courage. That is real strength. Michael says, "Go into the night without fear. Go into tomorrow without desperation. Go into your future without chains. What is meant to be built will require truth. What is meant to heal will require patience. What is meant to end will require courage. And what is meant for your highest good will never require you to destroy your soul to obtain it." And Jesus says, "You are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are not finished. Your heart can heal. Your future can change. Your life can become beautiful again. Release the fear. Keep the wisdom. Keep the faith. And let me carry what you were never meant to carry." So tonight, don't go to sleep imagining the worst. Go to sleep knowing that you have prayed. You have surrendered. You have released. And tomorrow, you will take the next step. Not 10 steps. Not the entire journey. Just the next one. Because sometimes God doesn't show you the entire staircase. He shows you the next step. Take it. If the person you love needs to find their way, let them find it. If you need to find your way, find yours. If your paths cross again, meet that moment with wisdom. If they don't, meet your future with courage. Either way, don't stop living. Don't stop growing. Don't stop becoming the person God created you to be. And when fear comes back tomorrow, and it probably will, remember this: a thought is not a prophecy. A feeling is not always a fact. A delay is not always a rejection. A closed door is not always the end. And uncertainty is not proof that something terrible is happening. Sometimes uncertainty is simply uncertainty. And faith means you don't have to fill every empty space with fear. Tonight, let the empty space remain empty. Let God fill it with peace. Let your heart rest. Let your mind become quiet. Let the person you love remain in God's hands. And let yourself rest in those same hands. Jesus says one final time, "My child, you do not need to be afraid tonight. You can rest. You can breathe. You can hope. You can heal. And whatever tomorrow brings, you will not face it without courage. Go in peace." And Michael says, "Stand firm. Protect your peace. Choose wisdom. Walk forward. Do not surrender your heart to fear. And now, for just a moment, stop thinking about the person you were worried about. Think about yourself. Your future. Your healing. Your purpose. Your life. Because you are still here. And that means the story is still moving. The chapter may be confusing. The page may be painful. The ending may not look anything like what you imagined. But the page is not the whole book. So don't close the book because one chapter hurt. Don't abandon your future because one person disappointed you. Don't call yourself unlovable because someone couldn't love you correctly. Don't call yourself forgotten because someone forgot to call. Don't call yourself lost because you don't know what happens next. You are simply standing at a place where you cannot see around the corner. And that is okay. You don't need to see around the corner. You only need enough light for the next step. So take that step. Pray that prayer. Release that person. Forgive yourself. Protect your heart. And trust that your future is bigger than the fear inside your head tonight. If you came here terrified, leave with peace. If you came here confused, leave with wisdom. If you came here heartbroken, leave knowing that healing is still possible. If you came here waiting, leave knowing that your life does not have to remain frozen. And if you came here because someone was on your mind, place them in God's hands. Then place yourself there too. Because the greatest act of faith may not be believing that a particular person will return. It may be believing that you will still be okay if they don't. That is where your freedom begins. That is where your healing begins. That is where fear loses its power. And that is where faith begins to breathe. So tonight, close your eyes when you are ready. Take one slow breath. And whisper, Jesus, I trust you. I trust you with them. I trust you with me. I trust you with what I cannot see. I trust you with what I cannot control. I trust you with tomorrow. Amen. Now rest. You have done enough for tonight. Let tomorrow be tomorrow. And let peace be peace. You are still here. Your heart is still beating. Your story is still unfolding. And you do not need to know the ending tonight.